Hey everyone, Mig the producer here, your secret weapon to outstanding events. My friends call me Marlene. I'm the CEO and founder of Mig Enterprises Presents, and I am here to help you make your events outstanding. It's been a little while since I've been on Facebook Live. It's been a little while since I've done any videos or live streaming, and it's because I've been very busy serving my clients and producing events. Most recently, I produced the annual gala for the Meridian Chamber of Commerce, which was so exciting and really fantastic. We had 14 different presenters and keynote speakers and honorees, and we had Kristen Armstrong as our keynote speaker. And if you haven't seen that, I highly recommend you go to the Meridian Chamber of Commerce YouTube page and check that out. It's outstanding. I've been, doing some citywide campaigns for the Meridian Chamber of Commerce and really helping to promote Keep Meridian Healthy and Open for Business. We recently had our restaurant tour, and now we are doing our Shop Meridian campaign along with our online auction to raise money for the Meridian Chamber of Commerce 2021 programming. So if you haven't checked out the online auction, there are some pretty amazing items out there. We do have an Xbox Series X, which just was released like last week. On there, and I think the current bid right now is like $385. So there's some great deals to be had. If you're doing your Christmas shopping, go check that out. It's meridianchamber.org/shopmeridian. I'm also producing the Caldwell Board of Realtors annual holiday celebration. They have rented out the Indian Creek Plaza and Ice Ribbon on December 3rd, and we are so excited to be able to still provide a socially distanced celebration for all of their success this year. We will have Boise ice dancers there, we'll have fire dancers there, a photo booth, and of course, coffee, cocoa, and dessert, and swag bags. Everyone loves swag bags, all the good stuff. So I am keeping very busy, and I haven't been online until tonight, where I want to bring you a very, very special guest. We are going to be talking to the primary event producer, event manager. She's got a different technical title inside of her company for the Ghirardelli Chocolate Company. So I'm going to go ahead and bring her into the interview, into our studio, and welcome Kimberly from the Ghirardelli Chocolate Company. Hi. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'm so happy to have you on here.
Of course. I'm happy to be here. And Marlene, if you ask me to show up, I'm there.
So a lot of you don't know that I had a long career in the consumer packaged goods industry, and I did a little stint at the Ghirardelli Chocolate Company. And I think I was like one of the first people you met when you first came on board at Ghirardelli, like within your first couple of days there.
Like hours, yeah.
Like within hours. And Kimberly has had just an incredible career there. And I was saying to you the other day, you've just had just a golden career. I mean, you walked in the door with, sort of one level of responsibility, like very like entry level responsibility. Yeah. And little did they know that they were inviting into their organization a seasoned theatrical expert who had been on stage around the world producing shows and plays and events. And they quickly figured out that you were going to be their secret weapon to producing their outstanding events.
Wow. Well, thank you. That's quite the introduction. Yeah. So when I came into Ghirardelli, it was very focused on sales, administration, and support. And I attended a sales meeting as a support team member, and I sort of looked around and thought, okay, this is like a stage show, and there's microphones, and there's lights, and there's audience to control, and projection to manage, and I just really saw a lot of opportunity. And my first meeting was in 2006. And I would say within a few years, we really were able to improve the quality of our meeting. And I've really been proud of the fact that our meetings eventually met the level of product that we produce. Like, we're a premium, we manufacture premium products. We should be having premium meetings. And so that was really exciting. And because I chose to leave the stage world, the theater world, it was just a great opportunity for me to, tap into that need to produce and to be on stage. So it was a lucky match for both of us. So yeah, that's sort of how it happened.
It's so cool. And it's been so cool watching your career and watching every year, like the sales meeting just gets better and bigger and better. And then you've taken that into your well, it used to be called All Candy Expo. It's called something different now.
Sweets and snacks. It's the big confections trade show. Well, confections and snacks trade show. And same thing, we were able to bring in because of my theatrical connections, my sister and her husband produce live theater, so obviously it's in the family. I was able to bring them out for a few events, and we had some really exciting product launches. And I will never forget standing next to our then CEO at one of our events, and we were in a booth behind us because we couldn't get into our booth because our booth and the aisle was just filled with people. And at a trade show like that, people are moving around, and it was kind of have chills remembering it. And it was just so exciting to be able to bring those two worlds together, and also to work with family. That's always nice too. But on a really professional level, just to be able to bring that theatrical side that really excites people into a corporate world where they don't typically see it, and they don't know why. They don't know why the event's great, but it's great.
Right. They couldn't pinpoint it. And one thing that I've always tried to teach my audience and teach people when they're learning about the Expert's Guide to Producing Outstanding Events, part of a really incredible event is dazzling and delighting your audience, right? Surprises and excitement and controlling the energy of the room with lights and music and volume and all of those things. It's an experience that you can create for people that, like you said, they don't really know why it was so amazing, but they walk away feeling like it was amazing.
Yeah. That was when our events, our sales meetings really started to evolve. I know that you were at this meeting, and I specifically remember it. It was my first sales meeting, and everybody wears a wireless lavalier because there's 100 people in the room and we need to be able to hear them. But they didn't have anybody controlling the microphone. So they would take off the mic and it's on. And so you hear that rustle. I mean, it's not even rustle. It's like thuds and clinks. And then the person in the front of the room took a notepad to cover up the projector so they could change the slides. And when we took it from just saying, I'm going to sit in the back of the room and control the projector by turning the on and off button and turning the microphones on and off when we switch them out, just that level. It was so little. Nobody knew why or what happened. It took us to the next level. And now we're at a point, we're at our last meeting. We unveiled a new product, and we had confetti cannons go off, a smoke effect, music. Like it was like we were in a nightclub. It was so exciting. So I just, for those memories of where we came from to where we are now, it's really exciting. And then every time we do that, I'm like, I don't know where we're going to go next.
I know. We have nowhere else to go. How do you level up over that? Oh my God. Well, I wanted to sort of open our conversation about your national sales meeting, talking a little bit about where you came from. Like you were talking, like what you have been doing in person, on the stage, with the cannons and the smoke and the lights, to our new reality, our new world, where you had to take something that you had been doing annually in person with a large audience to a virtual platform. So my first question was, how long did it normally take you to plan a national sales meeting in person? Like, what was that like?
So our planning stages start, I would say, a year to 10 months in advance. So, first of all, we have to select a date and have everybody align on it. So this is not just a small team meeting. We have 150 people attending. Our executive level management are there. So we're sort of in this area where we don't want to plan so far in advance that other meetings, like maybe that our parent company haven't booked yet, would override our meeting, but we can't start so late that we don't have enough time to plan it. So I think we found our sweet spot. We're at about 9 to 12 months in advance. And I have to acknowledge that I've got a great team member, and she always reminds me, she's like, shouldn't we be looking at hotels now? Which is fantastic, because one thing that I want to point out is, like, this is not my fault. It is my full-time job. This is not the only thing I do. I have a sales meeting a couple times a year. We have a couple trade shows, but I have a completely different responsibility at Ghirardelli. And so thinking about meetings, you probably are thinking about planning a meeting every day because that's your full-time gig. But for me, well, we had to get through this and we've got to launch that and we do all those things. Oh, and we had to plan a meeting in the middle of this. So to answer your question in a really long way, we probably would start, I would say about 10 months in advance. And that starts with us reaching out to our corporate meeting planning company. They're the third party company, and they go and they find locations for us. So we have some things that are really important to us as a team. When we're in a meeting room all day, we want to be able to have lunch and breakfast outside. So that means if we're having a meeting in February, we're probably not going to do it in Colorado. If we're having a meeting in June, we're probably going to steer clear of the Pacific Northwest. Odds are we're going to be in Southern California or Arizona or something where we can rely on the weather a little bit more. Although for another day, when we talk about how to deal with weather that you don't expect, I have plenty of those stories because we've had plenty of those stories. So they start by finding the location that's right for us. So it's not just, who has a meeting room and sleeping rooms that can accommodate us, who can accommodate our outside activities, because we don't want to just have a meeting. We want to be able to have some community time and gathering together. And the social aspect of that meeting is so important. There are some things, this is in that you don't know why the meeting's so great, but it's so great. When we do a site visit, we look at so many things. We stand at the staircase and we make sure that there's not like little clusters of dirt in the corner. You don't know that they're not there, but when they're there, We go in the meeting room and we make sure there's not a massive column that's going to be blocking a third of the view of the people in the room, or that just because they say the ceilings are 16 feet high, that there's not a 70s chandelier that hangs down so that the lowest point is actually 12 feet. So when the tallest member of our team stands up, he's not like, something's coming toward me, So those are the things that we had to think about. That's why we start planning so far in advance. I think that we've probably done, for some meetings, we'll do a site visit. We'll visit 6 or 7, 8 places before we are really, really comfortable that's right. Because all of those things have to be right. The dates have to be right, and the price has to be right. Because we don't just have a blank checkbook. We've got to, stick to our budget.
You have a budget. You have to operate inside a budget. Go ahead.
Then, of course, there's negotiating on top of that. So,
exactly. So one of the things that I teach in my Expert's Guide to Producing Outstanding Events is how to negotiate those hotel and convention center contracts, and how to reduce your overall AV expenses, and how to negotiate your room blocks and your food and beverage and all of those things. And a lot of people don't know really what it takes. Sometimes I go through up to 12 iterations of a contract before we land on the price and the equipment and the food and all of the things that we need. And right now, with our current conditions, people can book venues out in 2021 and get some pretty fantastic discounts. Because they're so hungry for the business.
And you talked about negotiation. For a company like Ghirardelli, we have competitors out there. So I'm not going to pretend like other hotels don't serve our competitive product, but that's something that we always put into a contract. Please don't serve our competitive product when you are in fact, not only that, use our product. So maybe you don't always use Ghirardelli, but use our product. And if you don't, for whatever reason, you've got corporate rules that you won't let you, just don't put it on the shelf or on the counter. And also, please don't book our competitor in the room next door when we're there, because we don't need to be seeing our name and their name. And not everybody knows who our competitors are. So part of that negotiation and that contract is making sure that they know who your competitors are. A lot of times they're really surprised because they don't know enough about our company. But that's my job. That's where I'm bringing in that information, and I pass it on to our company that does the negotiation, and they advocate for that.
So I want to show a quick picture, if I can, of what your meetings looked like back when they were live and in person. So this is what a typical in-person meeting would have looked like. You've got the awesome AV booth back here, which personally is my absolute favorite thing to do. The meeting is running those microphones and lights and music, and I usually have at least 1 or 2 people working that back table with me. But that's just so much fun. So knowing that you had to go from that and accommodate now our new world order, tell us a little bit about what you had to do to pivot.
Yeah, well, I mean, I will, I will say when I found out that we were going to take our meeting online, I was like, wait, did you see what we used to do? How are we going to do that? And it was a lot of work. So, you know, our old meeting, 120, 150 people. We've got, like you saw, the AV set up the stage. We call it our main stage, and it's really an opportunity for us just to shine and do our best work. And those meetings, they were a lot of work in person, but I tell you, the online meeting is just as much work. And I think it's important for people to know that meeting that you saw takes a lot of negotiation, takes a lot of planning, but an online meeting takes a lot of work. Just because I'm working out of my bedroom doesn't mean it's simpler, right? So I will say before, before 2020, we would do 2 or 3, we called them remote meetings. So we had information we needed to share with our team, because most of our team is across the country, and we had information we need to share. We couldn't warrant bringing everybody together, to a hotel to share this 2 or 3 hours of content. So we would have an online meeting, and I thought we were really good at that. And 2020 made me realize, no, we were just in the infant stages of that. We would, and our biggest challenge was getting our presenters to understand who their audience was, because everybody at headquarters would be in a meeting room, and we would be broadcasting to the external sales team who weren't in the office, but our presenters couldn't see them. They could only see the other presenters they were staying in front of. We couldn't get any reaction from our sales team. So that's how our online meetings used to be. So we went home, our state shut down in the middle of March, and we were just about 3 months out from our big meeting. The big meeting, like what you just saw, that's 3 days that everybody flies out to. And we thought, how are we going to make this engaging? We've got 2 days of content. We need to keep people engaged and interested. And, we learned a lot in those 3 months. I learned a lot. We improved a great deal in just that time.
A quick picture about what your studio ended up looking like.
Yeah.
So you all went from that to that.
This,
that's your new virtual AV booth, where how many computers and iPad did you have going?
Yeah, so I had my 2 computers going, one to run the show, one to watch as a guest, an iPad to manage some of the communication with my other team members, and then all 3 screens were in use. So really, I took that AV booth where, again, as you said, I hired 2 or 3 people to help me run it and brought it on to my room. And I mean, the one nice thing is I did have a window view. I could look out the window through the meeting. But yeah, so that's sort of what it evolved into. And our first week at home, we did have an online meeting. So that was the first a previously planned online meeting, but we were all going to be at home. And I was like, we've got to maintain our normal premium experience. Everybody's got to have their cameras on, and don't use that chat, because to me that was like talking in the audience, and I really saw those meetings very differently. But some of the challenges that we had were, our presenters need to focus on their content. They are not the AV expert. They should not have to be worrying about, how do I get my slides up so people can see them? How do I make sure that I'm off mute? Can people see me? Is my camera okay? They should not be dealing with that when, as we all know, they are building their decks until the very last minute. And those are the things that I really wanted to focus on. So no, we weren't in a hotel. I didn't have to order food for them, but I did want to make sure that they were comfortable and they were taken care of. And yeah, that's really the key. That was really the key. The key is to make sure that our presenters felt good. So
like I do in like in-person events is, I always tell my clients, your job is to focus on your zone of genius. sharing your message, teaching, informing, whatever it is they are supposed to be doing from the stage. They don't need to be worrying about whether or not a microphone stopped working, whether or not a light went out, or one of the volunteers, hurt themselves, or a toilet is overflowing. They don't need to worry about that. And same thing in a virtual event. They don't need to worry about the technology required in order to make this happen in a very professional, fluid manner. They have a message to deliver, and that is all that they should be focusing on. Ghirardelli is so lucky to have you. Not many companies have that kind of talent on board.
True. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. You reminded me of a very funny story. One time we were at I think it was a hotel, and my hotel contact's name was the same as our VP of sales. And I needed my hotel contact. And I called him and was like, he answers the phone. He's like, hey. And I'm like, we need to get such and such in this room immediately. He's like, okay, I don't know who to talk to about that. And I was like, oh, Rob, wrong Rob. So I called our VP, and it was funny because after he's like, I had no idea you were dealing with all that stuff during the meeting. And it's just that you don't need to worry about that. Like, when you get into that room, a screen will be set up. You don't need to worry about it. But it wasn't until I accidentally called him that he was like, oh, that's what it is.
There's always something that goes wrong, and our clients and our bosses don't even know about that. Our job is to control the chaos, keep the peace. I had one event where in the middle of a very, very serious moment of a presentation, the whole room was so quiet. She was going to do like this guided meditation for everyone in the room. All of a sudden, a super loud rock band started playing in the next, whatever the mention's in, right? Oh, had to handle that right away. Like, shut it down, end it, make sure they are not doing that. Right? People don't know what it is you're managing in the background to make sure that your event is executed with excellence.
Right. And if that's what you're dealing with an in-person meeting, you still have those same challenges when you're online. You want to make sure that they are, that people are able to project their slides. Like, you and I do this all day long. You project your slide and you are in slide view. You're not showing presenter view. You're not showing your email where you're talking about somebody they don't need to see. Your presenters don't need to deal with that. Like, figure out a way to make that easier for them, because that shouldn't be their stress. That should be your stress or my stress.
Well, one thing you were talking about a minute ago was audience engagement, right? So we have been live and in person, and people are like focused on the stage. You had to go to some pretty cool extremes to keep your audience engaged, and you sent them all a box of goodies and treats and things. Can I show that picture?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I was really excited about this.
So tell us a little bit about what they have here.
Yeah, so we put together, again, my team, just like our meeting planners, like, I did not do this alone. I worked with my team member, Brianne, and her team in the sample room. But essentially what we did is we had 4 areas of business that we were focusing on for this meeting. And everything represented in this is really focusing on that area of business. So we started by just giving everybody a little bit of Ghirardelli swag. So everybody got a sweatshirt, and that's got our brand logo on it. And you would be amazed how exciting that is for people, how much they love that. We really wanted to encourage using our chocolate in a fun and different way. And it was summertime. So we gave everybody some items to make their own s'mores at home, so they could cuddle around the campfire and wear their cool new jacket. Ghirardelli is great about supporting the giving opportunity to our community. So we have something called Ghirardelli Gives. So we actually found a local winery that that will donate proceeds from purchases that you make of their wine to a local charity. And they donated it to a charity that was supporting COVID relief. Like, it couldn't have been more timely. So we sent everybody a bottle of wine to enjoy during their their evenings or their happy hour, or maybe to start a little bit early during the meetings. I didn't judge. And then we got them some baked goods of our new product, and people were so excited about this. It's like, you send them chocolate, you send them wine. It doesn't matter what it is, but they were so excited. They felt so engaged. And they came in the next morning to the meeting. Like, I cannot believe what just came at my front door. And I'm so excited. And it was just that little touch. And there's also another thing in there is the bingo card. I do want to talk about that too.
Oh, yeah. Yes. The bingo card.
Listen, I'm not one who usually likes to boast or take much responsibility for things I do, but I was super proud of this idea. So I had been hosting bingo events for local, actually not local, for some charities, and we can talk about that again in another live that we do. But what we really wanted to do is when people are in a meeting room, you can see if they're nodding off. You can see if their head is, down at the palm of their hand texting. You don't know that when they are at home. And we really wanted to make sure people understood the content on your screen needs your focus and you need to be paying attention to this. So we did it in hopefully none of my meeting attendees are watching because they'll know that I kind of tricked them. But we did this in a way to keep them engaged. I gave everybody a bingo card, and on the slides that were shown throughout the meeting were bingo numbers, and we didn't call them out. We didn't bring any attention to them. Obviously, we told them in advance it was happening. But as the slides went through, there would just be a little bingo number that pops up in the corner, kind of like where the Ghirardelli logo is on here. And you had to keep track of it and mark off your card. And when you got bingo, you could send me a photo of it. And the first 10 people to get bingo would get a prize. And it was literally a Ghirardelli gift basket. Like, it was so simple. The feedback we got on that, we had, I think, 150 people attend that meeting, and over 80 people emailed me, were like, I won bingo. I'm like, you're too late. But like, all these people some people wrote and said, I had no idea how much fun it would be. And it kept my eyes on the screen. And it was just it was so simple. It was so simple.
It's almost like a little scavenger hunt throughout the presentation. Like, they've got to, okay, the slide just changed. Is there a number anywhere on that slide? And that is such a great way to keep your audience engaged. I know that when we would do in-person events, we've done scavenger hunts like throughout the city. Like, we had I remember there was one we did in San Diego or something like that. And we had to go on a scavenger hunt. Well, and people do photo scavenger hunts. This is a new way of scavenger hunt. And then they win. You had 10 winners of Ghirardelli baskets?
Yeah.
That is so cool.
And even after all the prizes were given out, I still had people writing me saying, I won. I'm like, I'm sorry, it's already done. But yeah, so that was a really great thing. And then we did embrace, we use the Zoom platform. There are so many meeting platforms out there, but we embraced the Zoom polls feature. So we did take breaks. Breaks are really important for your guests. Like, you don't want people to feel they are trapped to their desk. So we gave people 10 minutes for a coffee refill, a bio break. And during that, I played a stretch video from our Ghirardelli Fit yoga instructor. And it was optional. You didn't have to do it. You can even turn your camera off. And then also,
if I wanted to, or I could drink my wine or do my yoga, like whichever I felt like.
You choose. I mean, our morning meetings started at 9 a.m. So maybe the East Coasters started early, but again, we don't judge. I also don't encourage it if you are watching from my company. I'm not encouraging it. But another thing that we did is we threw up some polls, and it was really fun. First poll we did is like, where are you for this meeting? Because by then it was June. Certain parts of the country had already opened up. So some people were in their office taking the call. I said, we gave them options like, I'm on my couch in my pajamas. I'm sitting in my laundry room, which has become my at-home office since we came home March 15th, so it was just really fun to get the interaction. We even threw up a question about the content, like, our customer marketing manager mentioned the top 3 events we need to focus on next year. They are, and we had to have people select it. So, there was no winner there, but it was just fun to see what people participating and how they stayed engaged. So it was really great.
That is really cool. So innovative with the bingo card. I'm going to borrow that idea.
No problem. No problem.
Like, with any in-person event or large scale event, you have to rehearse people. Like, you're not going to let anybody take the microphone and take the camera and get in front of 150 really important key personnel and dignitaries for your organization without having rehearsed in advance. Tell us all a little bit about what that looked like for you.
Yeah. I take our run-throughs very seriously. When we are in person, I have all of our presenters come in the day before, and we practice all of those transitions. They're responsible for their own content. They're working with their manager on their presentation style. The most important thing to me is how they get on the stage and how they get off the stage. And that transitioned into our at-home meetings, or by just practicing how are we going to transition from Marlene to Kimberly, as opposed to Marlene going, and yeah, I don't know who's up next. You know who's up next, because I send you an agenda that says, and now Marlene's going to throw it over to Kimberly. And you and I are very clear that as your meeting coordinator, it is my responsibility to highlight your spotlight, your video, so that the speakers can see you, to unmute you, to, if we're using the remote control feature, to control your slides for you, or to give you control of my slides. The only thing I want you to have to worry about is your presentation. Another thing, and I think we're going to get to this in a second, but everybody's got their pet peeve, and if anybody can take anything away from this, when you are a presenter, you do not need to say, "Can you hear me?" Because if you are off mute, if you are on mute, I won't be able to hear you ask. And if I can't hear you, I'm on mute, as I should be, so I won't be able to answer you. So you have to rely on your meeting coordinator. If you start talking and we can't hear you, the meeting coordinator will hop on and say, "You're not on mute," or say, "I'm sorry, there was a technical issue. Could you start that sentence again?" Same thing with your slides. Trust your process, trust your meeting coordinator, and trust the systems are working, and just go forward with it. Just like you see on the news at night, they're not like, "Hey, welcome to the news. Can you hear me?" and waiting for a response from no one, right?
Right,
You have to trust.
The weather guy is not saying, "Are you seeing green or do you see an actual map?" Like,
right.
they're confident. So it's about instilling that level of confidence, though, in your speakers and your presenters, that you got their back, that they are comfortable and confident with the technology, that they don't have to learn a whole new program, that you've got it. You've got them rehearsed. They know their cue. They know their intro. They know their outro. They know exactly how it's going to flow. And then that's not on their mind anymore, because when they're presenting and when they're sharing their message, their information, they don't need that extra layer of, well, what if and how and when. It's all about content.
Exactly. It goes back to my theater experience. When I was performing on stage, I never had to walk on stage and go, "Did somebody turn the lights on and my microphone?" It just was on. I just knew it, because I had a stage manager, a director, a sound engineer who managed all that. And it wasn't my responsibility. All I had to do was remember my line, which I didn't always do, but that's what my responsibility was.
Right. You got to do your job.
Yeah.
So you had some pet peeves. You did some rehearsals and run-throughs. I know you put together for me a list of some best practices.
I did. Yes.
Take a look at that.
Let's share them. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So these are your best practices. I don't know if you want to. Why don't you just give us a quick rundown of what these are and why?
Yeah, so really, I think for your presenters, the most important thing is they use a proper type of microphone. And I understand, we're at home. They probably don't have the ability to buy a $200 microphone, but your simple headphones that came with your cell phone are great, and they can plug into your computer. Do not use your speaker phone. I can't stress that enough. You have no idea how poorly how the speakerphone sounds to an attendee. There is so much feedback and static, and that's going to take your meeting that started out really premium down a notch. And I can't stress enough. When you advance your slides, if you are using your computer audio, you really need to get an external mouse or keyboard or a clicker, because hopefully you can hear this, because it'll prove my point. When I'm advancing my slides by using my mouse, the attendees can hear it, and it's really distracting and awful. I remember our first meeting, it was like, "What is that noise? Where is that coming from?" And then I realized it was from the person advancing their slides. And we already talked this, but when you're on, assume you're on. Trust your meeting coordinator, your meeting presenter has got your back and has your audio on and your slides on. And I know this is going to be unpopular with family, with kids or spouses at home, but try just for that time to be the only person on your Wi-Fi in your house, or if necessary, use your cell phone hotspot. And then as the meeting planner, like, a meeting needs a meeting planner. You can't pull this off on your own. without some experience and some research and some pre-planning. So maybe you don't have somebody like me, or maybe you haven't looked into hiring someone like Marlene yet, but these are the things that you really need to make sure that you're aware of. You want to schedule run-throughs with your presenters. You want to take the pressure off of your presenters by managing all the technical aspects as much as you can, and understand and practice the right way to share a video and audio. Zoom has features available. If you don't do it the right way, the video will be choppy and the sound will be poor. And that's why you need to have another laptop set up so you can see what the users see. You log in under that laptop as an attendee and you can see what they see, and you can understand their experience. And the most important is practice, practice, practice. Nothing more than that, just practice. And if you don't practice, you are not setting yourself up for success. So I think that's it with my best practices. Practice the practices. Do you have anything to add to that, Marlene?
It is such a good advice. Yeah. So I have done so many events. I get hired. So it's not I'm not working for a company, right? I am hired by clients to produce events. And sometimes it's difficult to get them to agree with my advice and my guidance and my counsel. And one of the biggest things I try to enforce is rehearsal. And when you're dealing with professional speakers, authors, and coaches, they're like, I don't need to rehearse. I've done this 100 times. I know what I'm doing. I don't need to do that. And it's like pulling teeth to get people to show up for a rehearsal. They've got to get comfortable with the stage, with the feel, the expansiveness of the space. They need to know their intro cue. They need to know their outro cue. We need to know lights. Sometimes they're a soft talker and I have to turn the volume on their microphone up. Or they're a really loud talker and I've got to turn their microphone down. I can't know that until we've gone through a rehearsal. And so I'm always emphasizing, we have to rehearse. You have to book your time with me. And so I did an event 2 years ago. I had 17 keynote speakers over a period of 3 days. And we had to rehearse in a 2-hour window the night before the event. And to rehearse 17 keynote speakers in a 2-hour window, I'm like, we need to book your time. What time do you want? The 6 o'clock, the 6:10, the 6:20, the 6:30 slot. And I finally just started assigning slots. Like, if you have to leave the VIP dinner to come in for your rehearsal, that's what you need to do. Because it is
if you bring a cocktail, but just come.
Right, exactly. Bring your cocktail. I don't care. You've got to come. You've got to show up. Practice, practice, practice. Rehearsal. All of my tips that I give, my 10 top tips to producing outstanding events, my top tips for virtual events and virtual trade shows.
Those are great. Yeah.
It has to be, it's like the number 10 item is rehearse everyone.
Yep.
Because then your audience, like you've said, they don't really know why it was so amazing.
They do.
It's just that much more amazing.
And I can guarantee anybody that you're watching on TV, listening to on the radio, like those morning shows that sound like they're all organic and they've planned it out. They know what they're doing. And even if you want it to feel natural and organic, you still have to rehearse it. Like one of our presenters, he likes that kind of natural flow, and he does come in the room and he at least plans ahead, like, this is how I'm walking up on the stage and I can't see the slides behind me, so could we get a confidence monitor? But he still comes across as though it was his first time in the room, because that's his style. But he practiced that natural style. So
and that's something. So part of what I have to do is I end up coaching speakers up onto the stage. Sometimes they're very nervous. Well, there's those that are like, oh, I've done it a million times. And then those are like, oh, I don't know. That's the most people I've ever talked in front of before. I don't know how to do it. And I always say that one of the keys to success is rehearse it again and again out loud. If you have to go on a hike in the mountains and you have to scream it out loud to the mountaintops, get it straight in your head. Get it straight in your head, what it is you want to say, so you're not always looking at your notes and it sounds authentic. It comes from your heart. When you practice what it is, the message that you want to share with your audience, and you've spoken it out loud a variety of times, it becomes a very natural delivery, authentic, genuine, heartfelt, and then your audience receives it that way. It's not some memorized, scripted thing that you're required to put out there. It's something, a message that you truly want to share with people that you're passionate about. And that comes through when you rehearse it.
No, it's so true. It's so true. We're very blessed where I work to have really talented speakers. I will say that, like, they've got their presentation style down, and that they're a great group. I'll say that.
You are very fortunate. Well, I mean, Ghirardelli is a premium corporation, and you hire highly experienced professionals. You're not taking them in, generally with minimal experience. These people have talent and expertise, and you're bringing them onto your stage to help your company be that premium, super premium organization in the industry. And that's why they have you.
Yeah. And they had you too. That's how we met.
Right, exactly. Back in the day. Well, thank you so much for sharing your experience, your talent. Is there anything else you want to share with the audience? Any parting words of wisdom that we can share with anybody?
Oh, goodness. I think the most important thing is, I know a Zoom meetings, I use the term Zoom because that's the platform we use, but I know an online meeting seems easy. Like you had, the first week you had a couple of game nights with your grandparents on the other side of the country. And you've had a few team meetings where, it's been fine. Like we got through it, but there are ways to do it where you and your team will really come off just looking polished. And if you spend a little bit of time researching, if you don't have a built-in event team, you can reach out to somebody like Marlene, or just, ask questions of anybody, and people will help. And the one takeaway that I had is, it's okay for your online meetings to be a little more relaxed. That doesn't mean they're not polished, but utilize the chat feature. Kind of like I've been seeing them come up, like some of our chats, like utilize that feature. That's how you communicate. You're not in person. You can't go out into the hall and chat during the break when you get coffee. So let people utilize that. And I know our company, I just have to say, our company has been having meetings every single week since shelter in place started. 250 people every week, all of our top management. And the camaraderie that we have built through that, we have inside jokes now, we have ongoing bets, we're raising funds for our local Boys and Girls Club. Like, embrace it. No, we can't be together in person the way that you're used to, but you can utilize this. And Marlene and I both know this. We are going to come back together in person. And until then, make the most of it.
Yep, this is the way we do it, and you can have fun doing it too. I know that you're doing some local fundraising with your bingo events. If you want to give a quick plug to your bingo events.
Oh, you're gonna let me plug it? How fun! Yeah. So I was a member of. I can see her on here. I don't know if she's still on the call, but my dear friend Kristen Meyer was a Man Woman of the Year candidate, and that's for the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. So she lives in South Carolina. So talk about building relationships on Zoom. That's how Kristen and I have lived for our 20-year relationship. And we haven't seen each other in so many years, but being able to be online has really been great. So Kristen was a candidate for the Man Woman of the Year for leukemia, and I was on her team. And we had a goal to fundraise for, it was like a 2-month time period. And I had planned to host a couple of in-person events, and then shelter in place started and I couldn't do those. So I shifted to do an online bingo event. And it was so much fun. We had like 70 people. It was all on Zoom. I called the numbers. We did like, let's make a deal things where between rounds, I'm like, okay, everybody run out and find something that represents community or whatever it was. And they had to hold it up in their screen. It was so much fun. We ended up doing a second one before our fundraising time period ended. And then I think I've seen both Jenny and Nancy on the call. They're with Empower Alliance. That's a wonderful organization that supports birth mothers. So there's a lot of organizations to support adoptive parents, but the birth mothers and the parents, they need support after that. Mm-hmm. So Empower Alliance is a great organization, and I did a bingo for them. And late breaking news, I don't think anybody on the chat knows, I just got scheduled to do another one with them this December for their December fundraising event. So I will share information, and Marlene, if you're willing to share it, that'd be awesome if you want to let your fans know. And Ghirardelli Chocolate supports the San Leandro Boys and Girls Clubs. And every year they put on a huge golf tournament. Now, I know you just did a golf tournament in Idaho that went off with great success. We're in a different part of the country, and the California area is not open for events like that. So unfortunately, we weren't able to do that. So I volunteered to host a bingo event. I was like, look, I know you guys usually raise about $150,000. I probably could bring in $1,000. It's not a lot, but it's something. We brought in over $5,000.
Oh my
all
God.
for the Boys and Girls Club. And that was just awesome and exciting. Yes, Nancy, December 15th, we'll be doing bingo for Empower Alliance. So no, it's been phenomenal. So I'm having a ton of fun doing that. And that is my fulfilling my need to be on stage kind of fulfillment, and just my way of being able to participate in the community in some capacity. So if you know anybody who has a nonprofit that needs a host for bingo,
yeah, clearly you've got this whole thing down. And that is so exciting. I'll definitely be sharing that out on my pages with my audience. There's a lot of people out there who want ways to give back now.
Love it.
Before we went live, I was telling you that I had a little secret that I was going to share with you.
I've been so excited. I don't know what it is.
So I've known Kimberly for 14 years now. And I started producing events 4 years ago, and always in the back of my mind, it's like, well, what would Kimberly do? What would Kimberly do? What would she tell me? Can I call her for advice? Can I get a piece of advice from her? How would she handle this situation? Just because you've spent a lifetime in theater and performance and entertaining audiences. And I have big dreams. I have big visions for what MIG Enterprises is going to do in the future, especially when we can get back in person. And recently I went through a Tony Robbins event. And when you're in Tony Robbins, they make you visualize and imagine your best possible future, the biggest possible success. Like, what would it mean for you to have success? And for me, what that looks like is you're my vice president of operations when MIG Enterprises Presents gets so big that we're going global with our events. You're the only person that I would bring in alongside of me to help me run my company because of your talent, your professionalism, your expertise. So watch out, Ghirardelli, one day I'm going to make her an offer that she cannot refuse.
Oh, that's awesome.
Big dream. I'm going to work with you again. You're amazing.
That's an awesome compliment, Marlene. Thank you so much. And even if our working together doesn't happen one day in the future, we always will work together in some capacity, like doing these types of things. I just love it. And it's funny that you say that, because I've always called you my business mentor. And you're the person I will never forget this. This is what an impact somebody can make on you. I was fairly new at Ghirardelli, and I sent out an email to all of our directors. So at the time, there was a definite difference when I worked there, when I started, admin, directors. And I sent an email, and instead of saying because, I wrote because that's how I speak. And Marlene was so gentle and so kind. And she said, I know what you were trying to say, but you were not using the proper word. In fact, you're using a different word that's going to confuse people. So if you want people to take you seriously and you want to be respected, you've got to make sure that your communication reflects who you are. And she was so warm, and it was so well received. And I am not even kidding you. Every single time I type the word because, I think of Marlene. And you just never know those little impacts that you make on people. So that little, it's like 20 something. You already said I've been there for 14 years, so you're going to show my age. But I was, I was new in the corporate world, and I wasn't used to writing business emails. And it was a really great learning experience. So thank you.
Oh.
Because you're just
our written word is powerful. Our words are powerful, and our written word is even more powerful because it is permanent in this world. So thank you. I appreciate that, and I've always enjoyed working with you. Thank you so much for sharing
one day.
your time tonight.
Anytime.
Little last comment, what would Kimberly do?
Thanks, Kristen Meyer.
Yeah. All right.
Awesome.
So I'm going to sign off with Kimberly. Thank you so much for coming tonight. And I want to remind everyone out there that you can go to the Meridian Chamber of Commerce, go to the Shop Meridian page on our Meridian Chamber of Commerce Facebook page and website, and check out our online auction to raise money for the Meridian Chamber of Commerce 2021 programming, and check out the Kristen Armstrong video. Talk about mentors being inspiring and uplifting and encouraging. The video and the recording and the speech that Kristen Armstrong did for the Meridian Chamber of Commerce this year is literally one of the most inspiring speeches I've ever seen. So I highly recommend you go out and look at that. And if you are getting ready to put on your corporate event and you need to gather together a large audience inside of your organization, and you do not need to add one more thing to your plate, that is what I can do for you. Well, we cannot gather in person and we cannot do live events just yet, because I know it will happen again soon. I am here to help you produce your outstanding event. Check out migenterprises.com and download your 10 top tips to producing outstanding events, and check out my expert's guide to producing outstanding events. And if you don't have time to learn how to do it yourself, you can fill out an application to see if we are ready to work together and if we would be aligned in making your event outstanding. Thank you again for tuning in tonight. I appreciate it. And thank you again, Kimberly and the Ghirardelli Chocolate Company, for allowing her to join us today. And you all have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.